Yo, it's good everyone, and welcome to the Boring DAO podcast. And you might be thinking, wait, what? Who is the Boring DAO? Well, that's exactly what we are going to talk about today. I have been talking to one of the Boring DAO's founding members, Rahul Patel, and he has been sharing what the Boring DAO is doing, what its mission is, and how the entire Cosmos ecosystem will benefit from what the Boring DAO is doing, as well as what you can expect from us in the future. So without further ado, let's head straight into today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and now enjoy the show. So hello Raul, thank you so much for joining here. Today we're going to talk about the Boring DAO and want to figure out a little bit more what it is, what its objective and its purpose is, and what the Cosmos community can expect from the Boring DAO. But before we get started, just real quick, maybe introduce yourself to the audience, talk a bit about who you came from and how you got to be where you are today and the Boring DAO.
Sure, yeah. And I want to thank the prison guards for letting me do this interview and allowing me the time to sort of explain to you guys about myself and the Boring DAO. I am a former strategy consultant. I worked at PwC, where I was in the healthcare industry. And then in late 2020, I got laid off, and I was hired by a family office to advise them on their crypto asset holdings. And during my time there, I decided I need to work for an actual crypto fund for me to really get up to speed and build the skills to be one of the sort of top analysts in the space. So I joined a crypto hedge fund, trained with them for 6 months, where I specialized in the privacy sector. And through that, I learned about Secret Network and really embedded myself in the Cosmos community at large, because I just saw the potential of Cosmos, the horizontal scaling. I just felt it had a better architecture than like Polkadot and other Internet of Blockchain ecosystems. So yeah, I decided to build a niche for myself in Cosmos specifically while I was with the hedge fund. And so something interesting happened during my time with that hedge fund. I started to understand how VC DAOs work, and I was able to join a couple of VC DAOs, one of them notably called A Ventures, which is a Avalanche-focused VC DAO. And I saw the structure, the incentives. It was sort of like a group of angels that were enthusiastic about one protocol, which was, for them, it's Avalanche, right? And the incentives are just much better aligned for the individual versus a traditional fund. So, if you brought in deal flow, you got a cut of the deal. But first of all, you also get to, with your own money, invest at the seed or private level, right? And the group itself in that VC DAO, they were very, very diverse. Like, you had a lot of developers, you have analysts like myself, you have legal specialists. And so that sort of group of angels, they brought a lot of value to projects, sometimes, or a lot of times, more than traditional funds. Sure, they might not be big money, but in terms of their advisory services, like tokenomics or even technical due diligence, they certainly have a lot to offer. And so yeah, that's anyway, that's a little bit about myself. And through that experience at A Ventures, I decided that I'm not going to work at a traditional fund. I think the incentives are better aligned if I started a VC DAO, and specifically one for Cosmos, because there was none, right? So I thought this is a good opportunity, and that's how I got to where I am today.
So you already touched a little bit on it. The Boring DAO is a VC DAO, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on its mission. Is it just to make money for the DAO members, or do we want to get somewhere where the entire Cosmos ecosystem benefits from the work of the Boring DAO?
Yeah, so our mission, of course, there's an element of the members benefiting, right? That's just how sort of game theory and incentives work. But but no, I think crypto and Web3 in general it has these disruptive structures such as VC DAOs, right? I don't think traditional funds are going away. I think there's going to be a hybrid model that's going to be more common. But so anyway, to answer your question, Boring DAO, the mission is really to bring together various, first of all, Cosmos builders, right? So Cosmos is a different dynamic than, let's say, Avalanche, where you have AVAX, which is the sort of network token that accrues most of the value, or Ethereum, right? You can buy Ethereum or buy Avalanche, and it acts as an index fund, sort of like index token that accrues all the economic value on the network. With Cosmos, it's different, as you may know, right, Adam? There's no direct value accrual yet. I know they're working on various things like shared security and interchain accounts and all that. But yeah, everyone is sort of, all the builders are sort of like siloed in their own ecosystem, like Secret Network devs, Juno devs, obviously Cosmos Hub. So I thought, it would be a good idea, number one, to bring them together, find or create a space for them to sort of collaborate with each other, whether that's synergies with their own projects, or it could be as simple as them investing in each other's projects through us, right? Because these devs and these builders, they don't have time, right, to sort of scope the market, see who's building what, or maybe they do, but I think we just provide an easier platform where whatever deal flow comes through us, we have like sort of a nicely packaged due diligence so they can quickly make a decision on their own whether they want to invest or not. And yeah, so if they were to invest in each other's projects, I think it mitigates some of the fierce competition that you see and fighting that you see on Twitter, right? That's public. At least that was the intent, part of it. And then the other, I say, like you can say, our vision is to also help educate the broader community at large about Cosmos and different Cosmos projects. And that's done through some of the strong analysts that we have in our DAO. And a lot of them came from a lot of them are former crypto hedge fund or VC alumni. So they bring a lot of skills in terms of their research and analysis. And if you go on our Medium page, you'll see that we've done deep dives on like Passage, Secret Network. We've done an NFT thesis, DeFi thesis, which is broader than Cosmos, right? So some of our content is, or all of our content is intended to be educational. And I think those who read it, we want them to be smarter investors at the end of the day and help them develop mental models on how to think about investing in this space. And so, actually, that's why we brought you on, Lucas, is part of our mission is, part of our strategy is to ramp up our media efforts. And I think, we will certainly interview Cosmos builders as we go along, but also pick the brains of some of the analysts in our DAO frequently, so that the retail users, they can sort of listen to those interviews and get educated on how do full-time analysts that work in the space think about how they invest. And so it's like spoon feeding them alpha, I guess.
Yeah, and one thing maybe I can add here is also, because especially you and the members of the DAO, you're so well connected within the Cosmos ecosystem, it's really that we get to talk to the source, and in those Medium articles, there is knowledge shared that the project maybe hasn't even shared themselves yet. And in this podcast, we might also drop some out or get it out of the project funders, of the devs that we are talking to. So really, due to the high worth of the network that we have within the DAO, I think we can really share this information very, very early on to the end user in the Cosmos and get the word out there.
Yeah, for sure. And that's also what Crypto Cito does and DeFi Times does, right? And there's a shortage of sort of media coverage in Cosmos, and so I think the more the merrier. Yeah.
Another thing when we're talking about shortage that's interesting to me right now is, those other networks like Avalanche or Solana, they are kind of known for having a lot of VC money in them. And in Cosmos, we don't hear so much about the whole VC space. Do you think there is a little bit of shortage of VC capital or general capital in the Cosmos ecosystem that we can also tackle this problem?
Yeah, I think the ethos of the Cosmos community right now is they're sort of anti-VC, which is sort of understandable, and like that is the root of, I guess, crypto is, anti-traditional structures like institutional capital, I guess. But no, so I think the institutional capital is late to realize the potential of Cosmos. I know like Paradigm invested in Osmosis, and that was like sort of post-launch. I'm not sure the structure of the deal there, but perhaps they bought on the open market or at a slight discount. I don't know. But yeah, I think you need both. You need obviously a strong community, but eventually you'll need some institutional money to inject itself in the ecosystem for it to sort of get to the next level. And so yeah, I do think, well, based on what I'm hearing, there is a lot of interest now for traditional funds and larger institutions to invest in Cosmos assets. I don't want to give too much away because I may not be able to speak about it publicly, but even our DAO, we have so we have 2 funds already in our DAO. And the reason why they're in is because they're Cosmos focused. Like, so you got Strangelove, and then you got Greg Landa's fund. They don't have a name yet. But yeah, that's 2 funds that are Cosmos focused that are in our DAO. And then we also have requests now from various other funds who are more broad in scope that they want to join our DAO. And so yeah, that's evidence on its own that, institutional money is coming into Cosmos. And I do think it's a good thing for the sustainability of the ecosystem. Does that answer,
go on.
Did that answer your question? Or?
Yeah, that answered it perfectly. No, I was just wanted to add, I think also the reputation of VCs shouldn't be that bad, because in the end you need capital to develop great projects, right? So if you put that VC capital to good use, then I think it benefits the whole ecosystem instead of being actually something negative that it sometimes kind of has the reputation in the crypto space, right? As you said.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some major challenges the Cosmos ecosystem faces at the moment? And we talked about a little bit about the capital maybe, but are there other ways how the Boring DAO is trying to help solving them, and how the DAO itself can benefit everyone?
Yeah, sure. So one sort of major problem I see, which I think is evident to everyone, is this player versus player dynamic. So you have sort of like the same primitives that are being built on every like sort of layer 1 Cosmos SDK chain. So you got like Osmosis that would compete with Swift chain, Juno competing with, I don't know, let's say Terra or Secret Network, right? And these protocols all sort of have the same primitives, and there's a lot of competition and like infighting within the ecosystem, which fragments liquidity and communities, right? So it's not, it can go either way. Like this competition can also spur a lot of innovation for developers to really differentiate themselves. But the negative side is that, like I said, it fragments community and liquidity, right? So that's one challenge. Again, so the Boring DAO is sort of aiming to be a neutral voice in the Cosmos ecosystem to sort of bring all these guys together and collaborate. So that's one sort of issue that we're experimenting and trying to solve through our structure. And then the other challenge is there's just a shortage of builders, and especially Rust developers. I know like other chains like Agoric they can sort of onboard JavaScript developers, or like Evmos now, you can tap the Ethereum and EVM developers. But yeah, so developers are also scarce, and so through our connections, we can either encourage builders to come and build on Cosmos through our education of what Cosmos is, right? And like we can do things like sponsor hackathons with other larger funds, which we're in talks with now, to help sort of spur development activity. Maybe sponsor like a multi-million-dollar prize pool for folks to build on Juno or other chains. And then so those are the two main challenges: is the player versus player dynamic and the shortage of builders, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean that player versus player dynamic, as you said, we can see it on Twitter whenever one project has kind of a struggle, the devs of the other project suddenly come out on Twitter and fud it, and that's not very feeling of your one community sometimes. But I think it also shows that people are super passionate within the Cosmos ecosystem, right? You barely see as much engagement in those discussions and developers getting involved on Twitter and actually talking about all the issues that are going on in any other ecosystem. So I think it can be, as I said, good, bad at the same time.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to the situation. So yeah,
it has to be a healthy balance, I guess. Now, we have been talking a lot about the ecosystem as a whole. How can an individual cosmonaut directly benefit from the work that the DAO is doing? Because sometimes new projects are coming, new products are being built because we incentivize or help developers with the onboarding process, but the individual investor sometimes doesn't really feel that benefit, at least not immediately in the short term, right?
Yeah. So I think it goes back to the earlier point I made in terms of, we have many bright minds in our DAO, right? And bright minds in the sense that OG investors in the space, right? So these former analysts and like hedge fund managers that bring years of investing experience in the market, they're going to put out regular thought content to help the community form mental models on how to invest in the space, and they're going to share their thesis on various protocols or dApps. So for example, like if you go on our Medium page and you read up on Passage, you'll see that why we think Passage differentiates itself versus other like just plain play to earn protocols, right? So we highlight the current problems of the play to earn space today, and basically how does Passage differentiate itself so that like when Passage is on the open market, you can make a more informed decision on whether to invest or not. And then I think it's just the content we put out, like, you're going to be engaging regularly with Cosmos projects as part of our media efforts, and that'll also help the community understand the value prop of different projects directly from the builders themselves. I don't know if we go the token route and have like the Boring DAO token sort of represents an index of all the investments we made. There's a lot of legal implications to that, ramifications that we haven't thought through. And quite frankly, we're sort of still early on, and even the regulatory landscape is sort of gray and evolving. So that's just sort of a bigger risk that I don't think anybody is willing to take right now. But we'll see. We're not discounting it. It could be a potential initiative in the future.
Yeah, that's when one thinks about the DAO, by its definition, it would be like an organization that's governed by token holders that vote on everything via the governance token. But the Boring DAO doesn't have anything. So are we talking here more about a branding thing than an actual DAO, or how do you see that?
Yeah, the goal is eventually to move to a DAO, but as I think most people would agree that having a complete sort of like DAO structure, you need proper incentives in place, right? I think in any organization, there's going to be a few folks that sort of drive the value and momentum of the entity, right? So like, I think Avalanche is a good example where you have Ava Labs sort of like driving the BD work. You have folks that are championing Avalanche, the ecosystem. And I think like, for example, CZ and Binance, he sort of helps BSC thrive and get to where it is today. So So to answer your question, I think we're right now we're going to be in a hybrid model where we'll have a treasury, right? We'll have a multi-sig that controls funds. But in terms of the token and governance, yeah, we want to get there, but I think we're early on. And again, like I said, we need to think through the legal implications. So that's basically it's pending. We're not sure yet. Let's see. I don't have an answer.
So it's not actually just a marketing thing or a branding thing. The goal is really to move into a DAO structure at some point when there is more regulatory clarity and when the members are more used to each other as a team, and we kind of know where this whole thing is going. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and we could talk about like the type of members we have now and like what their roles are too. So some are more active. Yeah, sure. So obviously we've got a lot of Cosmos OGs. Some are more active than others. So really, how the Boring DAO started was I got together with a few core devs from Juno, and basically we just said, all right, let's start this thing up. I think it'll be good for the developers and also trickle down to the community. And so our member types are basically you can put them in two categories, right? One is, or let's say three categories. One is you're a builder on a major ecosystem like Secret Network or Juno. And we were hoping that they would help sort of with the technical due diligence where they can, and maybe even share deal flow, whether it's developers in their own network or dApps that they're building themselves. They would sort of pass along to us as an investment prospect. And then we have the second category would be validators. So a lot of the same devs have large validator companies, or they're affiliated with large validator companies. And so anytime a project comes through us, they would sort of automatically get a large set of validators, right? We have like 6 or 7 companies that can all sort of like agree to commit to help secure their network. So that's the second bucket. So for example, Lavender 5, right, is a good example. They've helped with some of the infrastructure in Secret Network. Like I think they enabled sJuno, which is private version of Juno on Secret Network. And they also help with technical due diligence, even though they're not necessarily builders themselves. So those are the first 2 buckets. The third bucket is the analyst. So again, we sort of help with the admin side of things, whether it's business development or putting out thought leadership, or even like media content like you, right? So yeah, we're all sort of aligned on helping grow Cosmos as a whole, and we have a shared interest in supporting Cosmos as a whole. That's our ethos.
Yeah, I think that with the validators is something that maybe wasn't even talked a lot or enough before when you talked about the benefits for the ecosystem, because whenever you start a new chain, I think that's one thing that makes it a little bit difficult on Cosmos, that you have to organize a set of validators, which is quite a lot of work to connect to all of them and get them all onto your network and find enough people that are willing to secure your network. Whereas on many other ecosystems, you don't even need that because you just launch on the mother chain, right? If you think about Avalanche or something. Yeah. So having an organization like the DAO that can really help those projects to with that tedious work of connecting to all the different validators is, I think, super valuable for the whole ecosystem and for any builder, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dig a little bit also into the roadmap of the DAO itself. What are some upcoming milestones that you're actively working towards? And in what time horizons can we expect to see them live? Sure.
So currently we're just engaging with various new app chains or dApps on existing app chains and layer ones, right? In Cosmos, and we're investing in them, as well as providing any value-added advisory services, whether it's like tokenomics or dev resources or connections to other Cosmos projects in our network. So we'd like to coordinate and help sponsor hackathons by collaborating with larger institutional funds who want to inject large sums of capital in this ecosystem. And we're already in talks with a couple of funds to sort of help do that. And I think the time horizon may be anywhere between 3 to 6 months. We're even contemplating maybe organizing something in conjunction with Cosmoverse, which I know you're a part of too. So I think there'll be synergies there.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a week planned full of Cosmos events with a lot of side events. So definitely there is a lot of possibilities. I think that something like that might happen there.
Yeah, so I think to sort of like wrap it up, I would say you could find us on Twitter, right? We have the Boring DAO Twitter where we're regularly sort of putting out tweet threads and sharing some of our insights from like the Medium articles that we write. And yeah, if there's any like sort of builders in Cosmos that want to get in touch with us or community members, you can always DM us on Twitter, or you could find me at the _pleb_VC, the pleb VC, on my personal account. I think we'd be more than happy to talk to you and sort of help answer any questions. Yeah, and so we're sort of like the first movers, and we're excited in terms of VC DAO in Cosmos, and kind of excited to see how it goes. I'm quite surprised that we've been able to sort of gather some of these otherwise who would be siloed builders doing their own thing. We've already created a space where they're communicating with each other, sharing ideas, helping sort of with the input into each other's projects, and even investing in each other's projects. So far we've gotten good traction, and I'm sort of excited to see like where this goes.
So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you heard in today's episode, there is a lot to come for you, a lot of content, especially on our YouTube channel, where we're going to interview other project funders, where we have our top analysts and VCs explaining you guys how they analyze projects and how they make investment and trading decisions. And then also we will cover just general news from the Cosmos ecosystem. So you see a lot to come for you. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe there. If you have been watching this interview, obviously just subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. And now have a great time. See you soon. Peace out.